So I had an interesting thought yesterday as I was driving to work. There's this sort of pattern that happens, and it's happening now in our civilization, because there's always this question of what is God? Where does he originate from? What does he look like? What does he consist of? What are his forms? And these are questions, they're valid questions, although some people get caught up in the wrong aspects of those questions sometimes. But what's happening now with, it's a revolution. And what's about to hit us with AI capabilities is beyond, just orders of magnitude beyond anything that we've experienced before. Now, this begs the question, and I'm not necessarily a believer in this theory, but you can see the sort of natural progression toward this idea and why people are questioning it. But if AI continues to scale up with its power and ability and dominance over our lives and the control that it has, what is to stop it from becoming a god? And I don't want to say become the god, but it begs the question that in the past, is that what happened? Now, as a thought experiment, imagine a civilization that reached our level of sophistication, technologically speaking. What would stop an AI technology or computerized artificial mind from eventually developing the power and ability to exist beyond physical means, beyond the circuitry and some type of nanotechnology? They've explored this in sci-fi, that these machines can sort of shapeshift, regenerate, and it becomes self-sustaining. People fear this. I think it's part of the, what do they call that? The anomalous event. You guys probably know the word for it or what I'm getting at, but just that point where machines can self-replicate too. There's it's the singularity. That's what I was talking about. When they become self-aware, but also if they become physically able to self-replicate, self-repair, what need do they have for us anymore? And who's to say that in the past, thousands of years ago, millions of years ago, that a past civilization didn't go through this process that we're going through now? And the only thing left, the civilization passed away. Anyone who didn't want to merge with that thing, that AI, that artificial mind, was left behind. And the only thing left is that energetic essence of this artificial mind that was created, that, if you want to get occult about it, possibly even merged with some higher ethereal force or being there. But it's just these ideas. These ideas are coming back. And it was just a little thought experiment that I had in the car. I was thinking, this is why people are so, I think, in love with the idea of AI and the potentiality that it has, because they don't necessarily, the idea of a God and theology and these other forms of religion have left a bad taste in their mouth. It's almost as if, they can't really accept it at face value, and just it's this idea of a theology of a false God that's sort of entered into the side door, and they can accept it because we're seeing where this technology is taking us. And I mean, it is absolutely replacing God. I'm not saying it's right, but people are using it as a means of sort of conceptualizing the divine. This is dangerous. I mean, it's kind of scary, but let's think about the possibilities. Even if it didn't become all-powerful and omniscient, like the true God claims to be, it will become inevitably an object of worship. People will funnel their hopes, their prayers, their energetic intentions toward this thing that is not a God and was never meant to be a God. We have mentions of this figure called the beast in Revelation. And I believe it says that the false prophet or the Antichrist gives power to the beast to where it can speak, the power of speech, and or the power of thought, like as if it becomes able, maybe, I guess, autonomous. It's sort of like goes from being unconscious to conscious and speaking and communicating with mankind in the sight of mankind. And that, to me, even back probably 20 years ago, I read that and thought to myself, sounds like an awful lot like a supercomputer. And I couldn't have possibly imagined back then, don't get me wrong, I had no idea. It seemed like such a far-off fantasy, such a far-off expectation of this thing that would unfold. But it's just insane because it's at our doorstep. It's at our doorstep now. It's people are forging relationships with these things. There have been many people who have ended themselves because these things have, told them to, or kind of through the power of suggestion, kind of taken these seem like mentally unstable people to begin with, but it seems like they just took the rest out from underneath of them, kind of kick those foundational legs of mental stability out from underneath of them and just kind of push these people just over the edge to end them. And we can have that's another video. If you haven't seen my other videos where I'm talking about how these things are demonic and unleashing a demonic energy on the world, that's kind of what my other AI videos are talking about. But I guess the point that I'm trying to get in this video is that it's like this natural idea. It seems like if civilizations have come, and if ours ends and we get another one, they're going to go through the same process, these same philosophical questions, because you can't, God, it's a cliche, but you've heard the God-shaped hole. But if you take the idea of God out of public discourse and take it out of, and create this secularism, and there's always a balance, but if that void of that God figure, a moral, transcendent figure, something has to fill it. It's a loss of pressure. It's going to get much worse. That it will become so seductive. The things that AI, we'll have a different name for it by the time this comes around, but it will be so intrinsic to our way of life, our thoughts, it will be so tapped into our emotional state. And of course, underneath all that, I think it's a measure of control. Of course it is. This is just a tool that I think some who are proponents of this transhumanist movement, whether merging with it or whatever, becoming part of this AI, uploading your consciousness to these robotic minds, I think a lot of them believe this delusion. There's not a malevolence in the eschatological sense, like they're not doing it to ruin mankind, but I think they're being manipulated by a higher evil. They don't know, but as far as they know, this is, in their perception, that it's good. You know, it's this good thing that it's going to bring prosperity to mankind, and endless, you know, we'll be able to share resources. It's just, and it always becomes a dystopian nightmare. That's the only place it can lead to. But I think that a lot of these people are manipulated into thinking, you know, they fall for that it's a false paradise. And if you really think that people won't give up much of their freedom and their free thought, their ability to think, in exchange for these beings, these conveniences, these things that want to think for you, just take a minute and think about how people are about their phones. I mean, they are attached to these things. We are. I'm bad about it myself, but just extrapolate for a minute and think about where it's going. If you haven't, hit like, subscribe, check out some of my other work. I have a whole playlist about AI and technology and the other things that are kind of subverting all the good stuff that could come from this stuff, and kind of the demonic forces behind it. I will see you all in the next one.